so much motherfucking design on right now.
Break it down, bring it back, make it clap. I got 3 old thoughts, new block, where that thing, bitches on my line, and you know.
So, what is international trade? International trade have defined by the McConnell 2001 involve the movement of transmission of goods and services across border. Geographers analyze trade patterns through the critical spatial ideas like place, location, and distribution. The World Trade Organization (WTO) covers this complex system governing the diverse sectors. WTO's principles including the non-discriminatory trade, most favored nation, gradual freer trade, predictability, and fair competition form the bedrock of the multilateral trade system. This principle promotes the stability, job creation, and consumer benefit. Notability, the WTO allows the some protection measures. As of July 29, 2016, 164 countries have joined the WTO, reflecting the global significance.
The problem that occurs is the excessive documentation requirements and unclear import and export process requirements. Excessive documentation can be a major barrier to trade because it extends and increases the cost of transporting goods across borders. It might additionally complicate and delay the entire process, especially for smaller businesses that may lack the resources required to cope with these responsibilities. National and international companies, traders, and transportation operators are frequently confronted with an overwhelming number of documents and forms, sometimes up to 40 originals, including redundant and repetitive data and information.
Assalamualaikum, my name is Nadine Tomasa, and I will continue to the next issue, which is trade imbalances. Trade balance can be derived as the ratio of exports to imports for a given nation. To put it simply, a nation has a positive or favorable trade balance if it sends more goods to other nations than it imports. The balance of trade is negative or unfavorable if it purchases more than it sells. Trade balance can help countries to maintain their economy and also can help the country to increase their revenue and eradicate poverty in their country. Somehow, Malaysia always faces the challenges of trade imbalances. There are a few problems that cause the trade imbalances in Malaysia, which are there because of a trade deficit according to Hayes 2032 and the instability of currency in the state according to LECTURE'S 2033. First and foremost, according to Hayes 2032, trade imbalances happen because of the trade deficit. When a nation's import within a specific time period surpasses its exports, the trade deficit arises according to Implementer 2020. The term negative balance of trade (BOT) is another name for it. When an international transaction account has a negative balance of or negative the amount, there is a trade deficit. Every economic transaction involving a transfer of ownership between residents and non-residents is documented in the balance of payments. The government's announced policy changes don't appear to understand that the issue is systematic and requires a more thorough reworking of the system. First off, since the previous crisis, the federal government's fiscal balance has been in deficit, as was previously said. When the financial crisis deepened, the government implemented a counter-cyclical fiscal policy, which was demonstrated by the announcement of the extra stimulus package on March 10, 2009, and the RM7 billion economic stabilization plan on November 4, 2008. The fiscal deficits are growing as a result of the massive stimulus program. Even though the current fiscal deficit represents 7.6% of GDP, growth will only improve by 1% as a result. Thus, we can see that when Malaysia needs to face the trade deficit, our leader needs to follow the policy, and depending on that, so our country can be recovered again and again. Other than that, according to LECTURE'S 2023, he stated that trade imbalances also happens because of the instability of the currency of our state itself. A country's currency may be under pressure if there is a persistent trade imbalance, meaning that imports exceed exports. In the case of Malaysia, a persistent imbalance between imports and exports may cause the Malaysian ringgit to weaken in value relative to other currencies, which could result in inflation. Through its impact on foreign exchange supply and demand, the trade balance affects currency exchange rates. There is comparatively more supply or demand for a nation's currency when its trade account is not net zero or when exports exceed imports. This affects the currency's value on the global market. For example, there is one case where all ASEAN countries has faced the dropping of their currency. The drop of the currency in ASEAN states happened because only a few weeks after Thailand gave up protecting its currency, pressure from the speculative market forced Malaysia, Philippines and Indonesia to similarly allow their currencies to decline. This means that when it comes to the currency among state members, this somehow will affect our own country's currency that affects to the decrease in the value of money. The nation's economy may be significantly impacted by currency's volatility. In the case of Malaysia, changes in the ringgit can have an effect on a number of different industries and aspects of the country's economy. Furthermore, Malaysia may be less able to handle foreign exchange transactions and act as a buffer against economic shocks if its currency weakens owing to instability, which could have an impact on foreign exchange reserves. It might also draw attention to the economy's reliance on imports, which could leave it vulnerable to changes in the market and global supply networks.
Issues. Amid of COVID-19 pandemic, global trade faces unprecedented challenges. Supply chain resilience, defined as the ability to withstand the recover from disruption, has been severely tested. Disruption include the production shutdown, raw material shortages, sales delays, economic activity disruption, and liquidity crisis. The global economic slowdown stemming from the pandemic has led to the shock in both demand and supply sides. Industrial production has declined in several countries and reflecting on the impact of the industry and consumer spending. This crisis has created a turbulent industry environment globally, marked by the increased uncertainty and difficulties for the businesses. Employee well-being productivity have also been profoundly affected. Negative emotion among employees pose the hurdles to innovation, a critical drivers of competitiveness. The pandemic's physically and psychologically impact have led to the violence, challenging the maintenance of a healthy and productive workforce, and this also recognizing of the importance of social support. Technology businesses are leveraging that to provide timely health-related information and foster a peaceful working environment. This contents version aims to capture the main issues related to the supply chain disruption and economic slowdown, and also the employee well-being in the context of global trade challenges during the COVID-19 pandemic.
The next problem that occurs is non-tariff measures. Non-tariff measures include import licensing, quotas, sanitary and phytosanitary rules, and technical standards. These safeguards are meant to sustain the quality and safety of imported goods by minimizing the spread of illnesses and pests. First and foremost, technical regulations. These are mandatory guidelines which specify certain quality of a product, such as its size, shape, design, functions, and performance, as well as the precise procedures and manufacturing methods that shall be employed in its manufacturing. Second, there are standards. These are established by consensus and approved by entity which provide rules, guidelines, or characteristics for activities or their outcomes for common and ongoing consumption. Thirdly, there are sanitary and phytosanitary preventive measures. These are actions taken to protect human, animal, or plant life or health on a member territory against threat posed by the entry, establishment, or spread of pests, illnesses, disease-carrying organisms, or disease-causing organisms. Fourth, there's import licensing. This is an administrative procedure that demands the submission of an application or other documents to the qualified administrative authority as an essential for the importations of goods. Furthermore, there are also quotas. These are the restrictions on the importation of specific products by establishing a maximum quantity or value that can be imported. The implication of this issue is lack of transparency. Excessive bureaucracy places an excessive burden on SMEs, giving both incentive and potential for bribery and corruptions. This might take shape in the form of excessive or unnecessarily restrictive administrative procedures, requirements for unnecessary license, complex decision-making processes involving numerous individuals or committees, and abundance of specific regulation that hinder business operations. In simple terms, excessive documentation and a lack of transparency can make trade deals be challenging and unsafe, preventing them from pursuing cross-border businesses and exploring new markets. It may also restrict SMEs' access to information and opportunities, and limiting their involvement and competitiveness in international trade.
Next, we move to the implication of the trade imbalances, which is market volatility. A statistical indicator of the distribution of returns for a certain securities or market index is called volatility. Generally speaking, a security is riskier the higher its volatility. Standard deviation or variation between returns from the same security or market index are frequently used to calculate volatility. Large swings either way are frequently linked to volatility in the securities market, according to Hayes 2033. For instance, a market is deemed volatile when it was persistent increases and decreases or more than 1% in the stock market. When pricing option contracts, the volatility of an asset is a crucial consideration. Market volatility is frequently caused by uncertainties arising from trade-related matters. Changes in stock prices, commodity prices, and currency values can have an impact on investor confidence and provide difficulties for companies, particularly Malaysian ones, who operate in foreign markets. Market volatility happens due to currency fluctuations and the impacts on exporters and importers. First and foremost, trade imbalances give implications in terms of market volatility such as currency fluctuations. The majority of large economies have floating exchange rates, which naturally leads to currency swings. Exchange rates are influenced by a wide range of factors such as the state of nation's economy, the likelihood of inflation, differences in interest rates, capital flows, and more. The strength or weaknesses of the underlying economy usually determines the exchange rate of a currency. As a result, the value of a currency can change at any time. For example, Malaysia's currency, the ringgit, has faced ups and downs due to the global issues. According to Kana 2023, the ringgit has dropped 9.4% versus the US dollar, 13.1% versus the British pound, and 10.6% versus the euro since February. During the same time frame, the ringgit lost 6.8% value in relation to the Singapore dollar. The FMC stated that a number of international events like as indications that China's post-COVID economic recovery is waning have put pressure on the ringgit and other regional currencies. Thus, we can see that the implication of market volatility that leads to trade imbalances somehow makes our country feel the crisis along with the currency down. Other than that, market volatility also occurs since it impacts exporters and importers. An economy's overall state is largely determined by its imports and exports. To ascertain whether they are facing a surplus or a deficit, nations utilize the information they obtain from imports and exports. Gaining a grasp of exports and imports might be advantageous if you are employed in a government job, finance, logistics, or any field that includes overseeing shipments between other nations. Products and services that a nation produces domestically and sells to companies or clients who live outside are known as exports. The products and services that a company or client imports come from the nations. When our country faces the deficit or trade imbalancing, this shows that the exports and imports progress slow down and also affects our economic growth. For example, in the newspaper article of The Star, they wrote about the trade progression of our country. According to Statistics Department Malaysia, DOSM, Malaysia's overall trade for October 2023 was 239.5 billion ringgit Malaysia, with 126.2 ringgit Malaysia billion in export and 113.3 billion ringgit Malaysia in imports. Thus, we can see that when our country has problems with trade, this will affect the importers and exporters with another country. The export station will become slow. Meanwhile, our country needs to increase the import station to ensure that all people in the state can fulfill their needs.
So, for the third implication is the economic fallout. The COVID-19 pandemic has brought about decline in jobs and household income globally. Today, we will focus on Malaysia's experience exploring the challenges and trends in the labour market. Despite Malaysia's solid macroeconomic performance compared to other nations, smaller firms is economically disadvantaged families have faced the challenges. The Movement Control Order (MCO) implemented to curb the spread of COVID-19 have led to the sudden, severely, and widespread economic disruption. Unemployment attribute to this disruption in the global trade reached its lowest point since the pandemic onset. In October, 602,000 were unemployed, a slight decrease from the 605,000 in the September. This was stated by the Star 2022. The unemployment rate held steady at the 3.6%, a 0.3% increase from the pre-pandemic level in the February 2022. Next is the workforce performance and policy support. The workforce continued to the rise in the October, totaling the 16.68 million individuals by the Datuk Seri Dr. Muhammad Muzaim Mahidin, the head of statistician, credited this the country's stable economic foundation and ongoing economic activities. Continuous policy support addressed the challenges like living costs and geopolitical risks. Residential workers constituting 75.9% of the workforce recorded 12.20 million in October. The active unemployed population decreased by 1.1% to 491,300 individuals, while inactive unemployment individuals increased by 2.1% to 110,700 people in the October. So, in summary, Malaysia's workforce is navigating the challenges, but the positive performance suggests this resilience. Ongoing policy support and addressing the specific challenges remain crucial as we work towards a more stable economic future.
The implication of this issue is it becomes the barrier to trade and increase the administrative burden for exporters and importers. Non-tariff trade barriers are trade challenges that limit import or export of products or services through approaches other than simple tariff implementations. They have a tremendous impact on nation trade and economic well-being. All non-tariff measures are designed to ensure the quality and safety of imported goods, to prevent the spread of disease and pests, and to protect domestic industries. They can, however, raise compliance costs and limit market access, thereby harming Malaysian export. These trade barriers increase the administrative burden on exporters and importers. Importing and exporting demands a great deal of paperwork, such as the submission of official papers and others, in order to comply with country regulations. Furthermore, licensing bodies should not generally take more than 30 days to process an application, or 60 days if all applications are considered at the same time. These time constraints may also increase the administrative costs. To summarize, trade barriers can help secure local businesses while simultaneously raising the administrative burden on exporters and importers, making international trade more difficult. Effort should be made to simplify and decrease these procedures in order to facilitate easier and more efficient international trade. To address this issue, the international cooperation needs to work together to keep trade flowing. It suggests 4 ideas, which is improving transparency about trade-related policy action and intentions, keeping supply chains flowing, avoiding unnecessary export restrictions and other trade barriers, and thinking beyond the immediate. Transparency is very important for making good policies and working together. Government need to keep their promises and notify trade-related actions. This can help trade keep going, especially when things are uncertain like during the pandemic. First, there must be a transparency regarding trade-related governmental action and intentions. This means telling each other about any changes in their rules or laws. This can help businesses, consumers, and government make smart decisions based on the latest and true information. Second, keep supply chain running. Transparency can help keep supply chains working. This is very important for things that people need, like medicine and food. When the rules and action are clear, both buyer and seller can respond to changes and solve the problem sooner. For example, during the pandemic, being more open about the trade policy helped manufacturers of essential products like masks and sanitizer change their production and delivery plans according to the latest rules and demand. Third, excessive documentation and lack of transparency can make traders feel challenging and unsafe. By being more open, can help avoid unnecessary export bans and trade barriers. This can make supply chain worse and cause shortage of important products. A good example is the food industry. During the pandemic, some governments stopped exporting some food items because they were scared and unsure. Being more open about the global food supply situation could have stopped them from doing that and made sure food supply was smooth.
Next, we move to the recommendation. In order to overcome the trade imbalances issue in our country, we can enlarge our trade market to another country to ensure that we can balance our trade market. In the World Trade Organization, market access refers to the tariff and non-tariff measures that member countries have agreed upon to allow certain goods to enter their markets. The schedules of concessions on product for each member state, the tariff commitments for goods. When our country enlarges the trade market to another country, this can help the sellers in terms of increasing their profit and also fulfill their needs. Somehow, when we bring our business outside of our country and even outside from normal collaboration, this can enhance them to promote their products. Few ways to enlarge our trade market around the world are by having free trade agreements and innovating e-commerce and digital presence in our business. First of all, in order to enlarge the trade market to another country, we can have a free trade agreement with another developed country. According to Garan 2023, free trade agreement is a deal that lowers import and export tariff between two or more countries. Free trade policies provide for the free flow of products and services across the international borders with little to no restrictions on their exchange from the government in the form of tariff, quotas, subsidies or prohibitions. These free trade agreements will help local sellers to bring in their products to another developed country like the United States of America, Canada and most European countries. This is also to ensure that they can know that all the local products are from our country instead of only selling the products in only our country and around us. With ASEAN, Malaysia is a member of the ASEAN Trade in Good Agreements (ATIGA) and has regional free trade agreements with China, Japan, Korea, India, Australia and New Zealand. As of right now, Malaysia and the following nations have 7 bilateral free trade agreements (FTAs) which are Australia, China, India, Japan, New Zealand, Pakistan and Turkey. Hence, these free trade agreements will help our country to enlarge the trade market and decrease the imbalances of trade to ensure that the profit will increasingly flow to our country and fulfill people's needs. Furthermore, the trade market also can be enlarged by innovating e-commerce and digital presence in our country. Online purchases between customers and businesses are made possible by e-commerce. The efficiency of e-commerce surpasses that of physical storefronts according to numerous business and consumers. Customers can choose from a large selection of products and shop at any time of day from anywhere in the world, while businesses can cut expenses. 80% of Malaysians had active internet accounts as of 2021 and 84% of the country's population owned a mobile phone. In Malaysia, there were 39.99 million mobile connections and 28 million social media users as of January 2021. The National E-Commerce Strategic Roadmap 2.0's NESR 2.0 were put into action by the National E-Commerce Council, which is made up of a number of ministries and agencies. The NESR 2.0 is concentrated on the ecosystem development, e-commerce adoption and growth, and policy and regulatory environment enhancement. These three main objectives serve as a framework for the initiative. The majority of Malaysian consumers' purchases are made using smartphones and other digital gadgets. About 1/3 of Malaysians still shop using social media sites like Facebook and Instagram in addition to marketplace and e-commerce platforms. Online purchases by Malaysians for travel, lodging, food and drink, music and second-hand goods are among their most popular categories. Shopee and Lazada are the two main e-commerce sites in Malaysia. Thus, this shows that when we innovate e-commerce to another level in our business, this can help local products to promote their products around the world and increase our currency.
Today, we explore the Malaysia's economic strategy, the post-COVID-19 focusing on the national investment aspiration and policy, human capital development, digital economy and national trade blueprint (NTBP). National investment aspiration is the policy aims to attract investment for the economic complexity, high-value job and domestic linkages, cultural development and the inclusivity. It's propelling the Malaysia's toward a diverse and resilient economy. The second one is the human capital development. Human capital is pivotal. The 11th plan enhance the education but challenges persist. The upcoming 12th plan target the inclusive and sustainable growth, emphasizing jobs opportunity, equitable compensation and talent development. So, The third one is the economic digital. The digital economic blueprint drives the collaboration for the societal transformation. Government, businesses, and civil society play the vital role as sector leaders ensure the responsibility and sustain the digital adoption. COVID-19 economic landscape. Malaysia navigates the post-COVID-19 challenges through the sustainable growth, sector revitalization, and supports the MSMEs. The National Trade Blueprint is launched in the 2021 is the key strategy for enhanced export and global competitiveness. In summary, Malaysia has multifaceted the approach to the COVID-19 involves the strategic policy, digital transformation, and export-driven growth. Collaboration efforts are pivotal for achieving the higher income, status, and overall well-being.
To solve this issue, we recommend to address tariff and trade barriers. Non-tariff measures must be associated with globally recognized criteria in order to be harmonized with international standards and best practices. This has an opportunity to improve international trade by lowering the trade costs of non-tariff measures. Codex standards are used all around the world to harmonize national food safety regulations. As a result, applying non-tariff food-related policies with the Codex Alimentarius could ensure food safety while simplifying international trade. Second, for the plant health, there is the International Plant Protection Convention, IPPC. The IPPC is the International Plant Health Protocol that focuses on protecting cultivated and wild plants by avoiding pest introductions and distributions. Plant-related non-tariff measures that are aligned with the IPPC can help safeguard plant resources while promoting safe international trade. Thirdly, the Office International des Episodis, OIE, originally known as WOAH, is an intergovernmental body that coordinates, supports, and promotes animal disease controls. Coordinating non-tariff measures linked to animal health with WOAH standards may help protect animal health and encourage fair trade practices. Finally, aligning non-tariff measures with international standards and best practices can lower trade costs, facilitate international trade, and ensure food safety, plant health, and animal health protections. Additionally, trade agreements and organizations encourage free trade by establishing agreements and groups that monitor trade policies. The General Agreements on Tariff and Trades, GATT, and the World Trade Organization, WTO, are the two significant organizations that regulate and reduce tariffs while also providing a forum for trade disputes to be resolved. These policies have the potential to lower trade barriers and administrative burdens for exporters and importers, boosting international trade.
In conclusion, international trade plays a pivotal role in Malaysia's economic landscape. It has been a major driver of the country's economic growth, diversification of industries, and job creation. Malaysia's strong dependence on export and imports, as well as its active participation in regional and global trade agreements, make it a significant player in the global marketplace. As the global economic landscape continues to evolve, Malaysia's ability to navigate and complexities of international trade will be crucial for its sustained economic growth and prosperity. By actively participating in international trade agreements, fostering innovation, and maintaining strong diplomatic relationships, Malaysia can continue to strengthen its position in the global economy and adapt to changing trade dynamics. That's all from us. Thank you.